Next up, we have our investor panel. The investor panel is something we have every year. It's always a really interesting talk because I think as much as DeSci speaks about like sort of bottom-up funding and community organization, a lot of times we do see VCs coming in and supporting these projects with sort of a little bit more significant money. And I also think it's interesting because DeSci can actually sort of appeal to both crypto VCs and also biotech VCs. So these are quite disparate sort of arms of VC work, but we see both of them coming up. And so yeah, without further ado, we'll have John from Primora Capital, who will be our moderator. And then we have Jakub from 1KX, and then Jury from, sorry guys, I should actually just unfold my paper. Give me a second. Jury from Signature Ventures. Jury also comes and hangs out in the office a lot, so it's nice to see him. And then Patrick Mayr from Prelude. Cool. There we are. So that's yours. And then you pass this one.
Is it on?
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is John Spies. I'm the co-founder of Primora Capital. We're an emerging thesis-driven fund focusing on DeSci and enabling technologies. Our mission is to really back breakthroughs at the intersection of biotech and Web3. And we believe these next coming years are going to be one of the most interesting times in the sciences with advances in AI, tech bio, and blockchain all converging. Super pleased to be here with our amazing panelists. We've all made investments and bets in the DeSci space, I think all with unique perspectives. So I'd love to hand it over to them to give a little background on themselves, what they're up to in the space, and what their thesis is.
Thank you, John. Hi, I'm Yuri. I'm running Signature Ventures, which is an early stage blockchain fund out of Munich, but I myself live in Berlin here. We're kind of investing into this new digital native space. So we started with blockchain, but it does encapsulate a couple more things as well around cryptography as well, and identity, and also kind of AI. We have invested in Molecule back in the very, very first day. So since then, they can't get rid of me now. So I'm hanging out here. And this is my introduction also to DeSci. I myself, actually, I'm a stats person and did a PhD in computational biology. So that's my intro to Sci part.
Hi, Jakub. I work at a 1KX. We're an early stage generalist crypto fund. Part of our mandate is actually investing into DeSci. And a little bit about myself. I was a biochemist back in the day. Kind of fell out of love with science for quite some time. It really felt like walled gardens. And then when I entered crypto full time, I realized there's this like whole new passionate space of like DeSci, where everything seems to just be going much quicker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick. I run an early stage first check crypto fund called Prelude. Until recently, we were known as Cherry Crypto. We've been looking at DeSci for a couple of years already. We're investors in Molecule and HairDAO. And yeah, sort of, one of the things that we always look out for is the application of crypto Web3 technologies to new fields, and DeSci being, applying Web3 technologies to accelerating scientific progress.
Awesome. I'd love to dive into a little bit of a bigger picture question. There's a lot of investor uncertainty in the markets right now. Bitcoin's been holding pretty steady, but a lot of other sectors within crypto are down from all-time highs. What's your case for investing in DeSci right now? And Jakub, would you maybe want to kick us off on that one?
Sure. First thing is, I think people underestimate, and we just kind of, a lot of people gave up on the fact that there's going to be sort of an alt market. Everyone's just like, Bitcoin is consensus. I think every cycle it changes. I remember around 21, people were telling me holding Bitcoin is stupid, you should just do ETH. But in the end, it's just natural human behavior. As sort of we tap out on the maximum range we can see for Bitcoin this cycle, people will be going down the sort of risk curve for more risky assets. So DeSci definitely does fit into that. And I think why we love DeSci at 1KX is not only the fact that there's a lot of like alts there that you could potentially pick up, but I think in many ways this is sort of a groundbreaking thing that not only captures the mind of the crypto degen, but it's also something that you can really explain to the average person. That's something you can have a conversation with your friends. It's not what shitcoin are you trading. It's actually like scientific research. How can we potentially use crypto to coordinate and improve the current processes that we have? So it is in terms of like price action, we might be at the bottom, and I think that's where really institutional capital comes in. It's you're a lot less emotional. You build up your conviction over years. You kind of filter out the good projects from the bad projects, and this is, if anything, a really good sort of entry point to back great companies in the space.
Yeah, I think there's like just two different ways to look at it, right? One is just looking at the price, and public tokens haven't been performing well in DeSci, but I just generally think that quality founders come into the space regardless of what the price is at. Certainly something that we've seen over the years, and I think if you actually look at what's happening on the product side, I've personally never been more excited. I think we're making tangible progress, right? We have BioDAOs that are, developing new drugs, bringing them to market, commercializing them. We have BioDAOs that are running decentralized trials. I think there's a lot of people here in the crowd that I've been to a lot of the DeSci Berlins. There's a lot of people in the crowd here that I haven't seen before, a lot of new companies getting started. So I think it's, price is one thing, but I think if you look at tangible progress under the hood, I've never been more excited.
Frankly, I think it's a sign of maturity. Bitcoin is not the same as a bio token or a VitaDAO token and so on. And that they decouple from each other is natural and should be at some point. Now, I even believe that it makes it easier to get into DeSci now, and I see it by many people, many new people I meet here, because once all the shit basically of token action and price action is down, people with real science background and real science interest come in and they're like, okay, now we can build stuff. So to be honest, I think now is a great time to look at the new projects, and we see with BioDAOs diversifying into very different directions, what they do and what they build and what they want to achieve with. It's kind of a great time to invest now. And obviously, it's an investor who's the long term in the game, exit in 10 years or so, when they're going to really grow.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of that. And kind of just speaking of a lot of the interesting projects and kind of areas within DeSci that people are building, what are some of the more interesting kind of like DeSci use cases that you're examining? Is it strictly on more of the research side? Is it some of the publication, consumer apps? Like, where are you guys kind of excited to see projects being built and that are currently being built?
Yeah, so I believe science has a big problem compared to, let's say, software programming, as in there is no horizontal tech stack for it, really. As if you would be a programmer in science, you'd be basically given a bunch of components, you have to build your own computer, then you have to assembly code your project, and then to demonstrate that it actually works. It's a lot to do for a person who just had an idea of doing something. That's why in software there's a lot of tooling, a lot of tech stack, and once you have that, it's very easy to just go out and build something. So I feel like this is missing. Now, obviously, the things like molecule for the IP sector or bio for the capital formation, you're kind of starting to developing those layers and stacks. And I believe we need way more of those things and way more enablers. So I think AI agents, one of those things. Safe transfer of data, secure cryptographic data, computational stacks. So all of those things. So actually, I believe for the success of DeSci, yes, we need the people who are really excited. Yes, we need the people who build kind of the research and do the treatments and so on. But we also need the people who build the enablers for them to be able to actually do it as easy as possible, to be people to be entering the space as easy as possible, so they can build way more of that.
Yeah, I think the research space is, as we discussed, really undervalued. People are not appreciating it, being very emotional. I think, BioDAOs like Curetopia have managed to be way more capital efficient than like traditional big pharma. that's kind of one thing that we're definitely interested in. But for other things, I think it's kind of the consumer space, and really like, experimentation around, could we like apply deep-in like models to sort of get as much genomic data? There's a lot of buzz around like acquiring 23andMe. I don't think ever anything has gone through, but I think we could use like deep-ins to try and like build a big data bank of genomic data. Other things are, where can we take this? Like, what could we do with our DNA? Could we potentially like, I've seen a pretty interesting project recently which is focusing on trying to basically build an app ecosystem of what can you extract from your DNA and what can it tell about you? And the ideas they had were pretty crazy, like dating apps where you like matching genetically, or could you potentially have games where your DNA is actually, or like your certain genotypes are actually giving you traits in a game. I think there's a lot to be done there, and this is like a totally underexplored space. And I think the last one is, DeSci really enables anyone to be a scientist. You no longer really have to go through like the long, painful journey of academia. And I think, democratizing the access to potentially people doing research. I think, experiments like Pump Science, enabling anyone, especially like, for example, young students or like high school kids, they want to like research supplements and stuff like that. This is now possible thanks to crypto rails.
Yeah. I think the way I, at a high level, look at DeSci is there's like 4 large categories. There's fundraising, there's execution, there's publishing, and then there's commercialization. And I think if one looks at BioDAOs, I would say sort of the first wave of BioDAOs were very, very focused on sort of the funding aspect, and I think a lot of them looked a little akin to venture funds, right? Taking sort of minority equity positions in other startups or funding third-party research. And I think what I'm particularly excited about are BioDAOs that actually go sort of full stack, that do everything from funding research to executing it themselves and then to commercialization. And I think we're starting to see that. I've already mentioned Herod, I'll mention them again. They've, at a fraction of the cost and at a fraction of the time, managed to repurpose an existing drug, ran an observational study, and are now commercializing it through their telehealth. And I think I'm seeing more BioDAOs really move into that space, right? Running, sort of designing the studies, owning the IP, developing it, and that's what I think at a high level is exciting.
Yeah, no, I think that's really exciting as well, and I think that kind of leads really well into our next question, as when you're investing into a DeSci project, how are you evaluating what projects are venture backable or investable? Is this distinctly different than other sectors of crypto? Do you need to bring in, biotech experts to help with diligence? Like, how are you determining, which projects are investable?
Yeah, I mean, so this answer is obviously very specific to us. I think we're first check investors, and sort of regardless of whether you're investing into DeSci or whether you're investing into, any other field, I think at the early stages, it's all about the team. So, that is the same, whether it's DeSci or other verticals, sort of what our perception is of the team. I would say what's specific to DeSci is I think you need a team that is, well-versed on the crypto side, but then also on the biosciences side, because I think you need to find an optimal balance of both. If you just have the crypto bit, you're sort of missing the science, and vice versa. You just have the science bit and you're sort of, you're not leveraging crypto for the benefit of accelerating science. So I think finding a team that has the blend of both is probably the most difficult part, because you do need both, I think, to succeed in this space.
Yeah, I think pretty much every crypto category, there's like a common DNA of like, are these people like really understand the crypto game? I think there's a lot of that, and I think DeSci has a lot of like work to do on that side of things. I think there's incredible research, but we still need to like really understand the sort of nature of crypto and the fact that you might be actually everything in DeSci is maturing in terms of like the things that have been built out, but you're still playing the game of like you're going to be judged by your token price in many ways, especially from the people from the outside. That's the sort of easiest data point for them. So I think it's definitely like the ability to are they able to conduct the research? Are they actually really have a good shot at actually having some scientific breakthroughs, but also understanding how to play the crypto game, how to sort of cater to that, and sort of be visible also on the token side, because a lot of your token buyers, they're not going to even look that deeply into what you're building. They're like, okay, DeSci narrative and just trading it. So you really need to be out there.
I think I agree with what you both said, and maybe add a little bit to that. We look really in, are you able to bridge from research to product? And sometimes you want to bridge that. It needs a specific blockchain component or blockchain knowledge, so this is more on the blockchain side, or the weight is more on the blockchain side. And sometimes it's more on the business model, really about like how you package that into a product and sell to people. And sometimes it's more on the research side. Can you actually pull it off and actually demonstrate that it works? So it's a little bit different once every time, but it's about really bridging it from the research part to the product is really what we're about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think kind of finding how you can have a project judged by its token price, they don't always align. And that kind of brings me to the next question. Are crypto investing and biotech investing like compatible in a lot of ways? Because crypto is a very fast-moving industry. Funds are usually 5 years. LPs want liquidity, fast returns, and science takes a long time. I mean, it's oftenly quoted in this space that bringing a drug to market, it takes 10 years and $1 billion. And how do you see those aligning? And if there is that kind of perfect intersection, like where can the crypto investors find the alpha today to invest in DeSci? And anyone who feel free to take it.
I'll start. So really, right now, I'd say they're not very compatible, right? If you purely talk about bio and purely talk about crypto, because as I said, I think there is a whole tech stack or stack missing to make them closer to each other. So my knowledge on crypto doesn't help me much about bio, and vice versa. And I can hire, of course, someone, but this is still, they're really worlds apart, and the way they kind of become a product is very different. Now, obviously, you can get them closer over time, and it becomes like in DeSci, it becomes a thing where you start thinking, okay, can we get more people in that are with knowledge, but also able to explain it, make the, let's say, the videos, the research, the, simplify to the people to enter the space. And all together, as a community, start trying to push it forward. Now that becomes more of a thing now, because people are now complementary to each other, so it becomes about a team dynamic or community dynamic. Now I think this is where DeSci started. This is also what we needed and what blockchain is about there. Out of that actually comes a team that can develop something like, let's say, the last thing I saw, like HairDAO, coming from like a funding perspective to more like a laboratory perspective, developing something new, and that's kind of exciting to see, right? So if you want alpha, that's kind of the journey is the alpha, right? Look at the journey, and then you see how people developed over time, from a community to, say, something like a lab.
Yeah, I think the short answer is they can be very compatible. I think we've already seen like biotech VCs invest into DeSci projects, right? I think North Pond and KDT invested into Molecule. Pfizer invested into VitaDAO. HairDAO also recently added a biotech investor to its cap table. So I think the short answer is yes, it can be very compatible. And I mean, the goal is ultimately the same, right? You're sort of, can you bring new treatments, new drugs to market? And the way I look at crypto is just it's a new platform that can potentially accelerate drug development, right? I think a lot of people get caught up and think the crypto bit is just like the token piece. But specifically when looking at BioDAOs, it's, okay, BioDAOs are a new platform, right? Like how can we sort of leverage the community in different ways and incentivize them to accelerate our progress, right? And I think, it's sort of, it's an enabling technology in that way. And so I think we've already seen biotech VCs invest in the space, and I don't see why in the future they won't continue to do so and invest also larger sums of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally misaligned. That's how I feel, how I think about it. Your token holder is a crypto degen that typically sits in pump fund trenches. The turnaround and their expectations for quick ROI is just unmet with how scientific research can be conducted. And I think another thing that when I talk to DeSci founders is, especially when they tokenize, is you're actually like a CEO of a public company, and you really need to like work on your comms. And maybe, I mean, like, how can you potentially align it is you exactly understand the crypto game, you understand the fact that, yeah, it might take you a pretty long time to actually get to a drug that can go into market. But can you be good at publishing research that's breakthrough? Can you show this sort of step-by-step process, be very transparent about it? And even those wins are kind of these catalysts for kind of aligning these. I think the other avenue to chase is actually supplement markets and things that can go to market much quicker. You know, things that like Pump Science is working on. This is a much quicker feedback loop.
Yeah, I think finding those overlaps between consumerism and patient groups and, you know, the retail investors being bought in and understanding the mission is super important for a success of a DeSci project. And yeah, I think we have time for maybe one more quick question, but like DeSci has evolved so much over the past few years. We've seen a lot of new projects come online, a lot of new infrastructure, like tokenized IP come out. When you're making these maybe future bets or evaluating current investments, and you're partnering with these projects for the next 5 years, like what are you hoping to see achieved in these next 5 years? Or what's your moonshot vision for what DeSci can really achieve? And you know, how are you thinking about that from an investor's perspective?
Yeah, that's like why I love DeSci. It's something that can capture anyone's mind. This and the fact that we're using crypto it is pretty powerful because this has like real life impact on human lives, even though they might have never heard about crypto. So I think, you know, breakthrough research coming from these research DAOs, that's something that I'd love to see. I think we're going to see potentially maybe, you know, some repurposed drugs either sold off to big pharma and the sort of distribution of royalties to token holders. These are going to be a very huge catalyst in terms of like broader public interest into the DeSci space, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get there.
Yeah, I think to put it simply, just the reversal of Eroom's law, right? Can we bring drugs to market at a fraction of the cost in a fraction of the time?
I'm maybe more conservative. I'd say in 5 years, proving the validity that DeSci actually works. Because looking from a corporate perspective, they like never heard of it most of the time. So even to that point is very important. And I believe either via royalties or selling IP, or even just demonstrating that the research works as well as a complementary point to institutionalized academia is very good in 5 years, I believe. Once we reach that point of view, I think there's no stopping though. So because this is kind of the Amazon showed us that books can be sold online, right? Now everything is open. But it's kind of my milestone I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting close to time, so I just want to summarize what we've all kind of said here today. I think we all agree that we're still very early in DeSci. We've made a lot of progress, but we're super excited about all of the new projects that are coming online and yeah, really just kind of where the space is evolving into. And I think just from what we've heard today, from the presentations, what we'll be hearing over the next few days, and I think we're all actively looking for investments in DeSci. So if there's any founders in the audience, please feel free to find us afterwards, and I'm sure we'd all love to speak. But thank you so much for the panelists, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.